Thank you for coming out. I know the after lunch sessions are a challenge, so if you need to catch a nap, I won't be offended, but I will try to make it fun. So let's try to stay awake. My name is Jonathan Carter. I'm a program manager in the Visual Studio team, and I work on a variety of things, all of which we're going to talk about today. So I have the pleasure of getting to showcase all of the great stuff that my team works on that I'm very passionate about and I hope is exciting to all of you. And so really the thing we want to talk about is, as the session says, the future of developer productivity, right? So the future, like not just what's here, but what's coming. I want to make sure everybody walks away feeling like they got their money's worth, knowing the direction that the Visual Studio team is headed in. So from a high-level agenda, what are we going to talk about? One, I want to get through slides as quickly as possible because I have so much things to show. But we do need to set some context. So first and foremost, when we talk about the future, obviously we're not going to address every possible thing that could ever happen. And so what trends is it that our team is discussing that we're looking at wanting to address? Finally, when those trends become something that impact all of you, what challenges do they introduce? And then what is our team within Visual Studio doing that might actually help address those for you today? And then just demo madness, right? Okay, so let's talk about some high-level trends that may or may not be impacting you today, but certainly are things that will frame the entire conversation and all the demos that we're going to discuss. So the first is by and large, across the industry as a whole, companies are digitally transforming themselves. They're embracing continuous delivery or deployment or whatever. And it all comes around the same goal of how do we ship value to our customers faster? Because competition is everywhere. There's many, many, many companies all going after the same problem, right? And so that creates a culture where now time to market and velocity has to increase. And that's a good thing, right? Moving fast and shipping and seeing customer feedback is great, right? Then on top of that, we also have this state of the world where things are rapidly changing, right? Now it's very trendy and very commonplace for applications to be polyglot. It's not enough to just write in one language, right? We're purpose-building components. Things are more distributed, right? Microservices. How many of us are building microservices? How many of us don't even know what a microservice is? Okay, well, many of you probably are not admitting that you don't, but that's okay. And all of that creates a lot of change, right? A lot of rapid evolution. And finally, this increased need for remote development, right? To be able to work on a machine that is different than the one that you're currently on. And there's many reasons for that. Maybe you need more powerful compute than what your laptop provides, right? I like my little baby Mac. It's portable, not very powerful, right? So how can I work and kind of get the best of both worlds? Or maybe you prefer one operating system, but your application depends on another one. Or maybe you want to work across multiple machines and not have to maintain state. And so there's all these reasons why this trend towards remote development is increasing. And so let's talk about challenges that those things introduce. Because I think, by and large, maybe we can all agree that these are all actually positives. Like, hey, let's move faster. Let's keep up with the latest tech. Let's build cool stuff. And let's take advantage of hardware and have more workplace flexibility. But it doesn't come for free, right? And so when you increase velocity, the biggest problem that can happen, like forget about quality, is that team cohesion and ability to communicate amongst each other becomes really hard, right? And then all of a sudden, you can't review every PR, and you don't know about every change that's going into master. And all of a sudden, somebody leaves the team or they go on vacation, and you realize there's all this knowledge that was lost that wasn't disseminated correctly across the team. And so it makes collaboration more important, but also more difficult. And then this one's quite obvious, right? But just to state it, the more complex an application gets, the more complicated it is to maintain and to retain how it works and to take on a bug or to migrate from one feature crew to the other and be able to get productive as quickly as possible because maybe you're jumping between programming language and jumping between setup requirements on your machine, and all of these things introduce additional complexity. And finally, like as we talked about this, that if people need to move fast and they need to collaborate and they need to take advantage of remote development environments for the various reasons that I outlined, unfortunately, many of the solutions that people have today are not as productive as they could be, right? And productive is key, because the name of the session is the future of developer productivity. So what we're not talking about is let's just unblock a thing. What we want to talk about is how do we make these problems enjoyable, efficient, and productive, right? And so today, if you're looking to do remote development, maybe you've tried something like SSHFS, or maybe you've tried to use Vim from the command line in SSH, or you've tried RDP or VNC, and they just haven't been as enjoyable, right? I don't know if anybody would say they loved those solutions. Maybe they would. There's somebody for everything. And collaboration, right? Maybe you're sending snippets back and forth on Slack, or you're using Git to push changes, but that's not real time, and it just doesn't provide the fidelity. And so really what we're talking about is how do we up-level collaboration and productivity in remote development in a way that is truly enjoyable. Okay. So then what is our team doing to make any of this better for you, right? So across our team, right, what we're trying to do is, in addition to the amazing tooling that Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code provides, we also recognize those challenges and recognize that to address them sufficiently requires services that are empowering the cloud, the inner loop, to be more rich, right? And so we're doing that in 3 ways, and we're going to see all 3 of those today. The first is we believe that productivity and the tools in your IDE, things like IntelliSense and Lightbulbs, have got us very far. But to get to kind of the next level of productivity, we believe will benefit greatly from AI and ML and the ability to understand how the community at large is taking advantage of APIs and distilling that intelligence into your team. So that the moment you have somebody on board, they can kind of pick up and go and be much more productive than they would have, taking all of this wisdom that the community has kind of instilled into the tools. Finally, we talked a bunch about collaboration and how critical that is. And so what we're going to show is what we're doing to make both real-time collaboration, right? So you need help from somebody right now, as well as asynchronous collaboration better. And by asynchronous collaboration, what I really mean is pull requests, right? I'm sure we're all using those as we're collaborating. How can we make that richer? And then finally, remote-powered tools, right? We talked about if we need and we have all these reasons to develop against remote targets, how can we make that better? And how can we make it accessible from anywhere and without you having to sacrifice the experience that you want? Okay, so that's it. That's all I have for slides. So what we're going to do is, I talked a lot about trends and things that represent cultural shifts that make our lives as developers more difficult. And so what I want to do is walk through a day in the life of a busy developer, right? Because it isn't just one thing that you do every day. You don't just come in and, what are you going to do today, Bob? I'm going to review one PR and I'm going to do it great, right? You're not going to come in, I'm going to refactor one thing and go home. You do a bunch, and you're context switching, and all of that leads to inefficiencies. And so what I want to do is say, okay, let's, in the next 50 minutes or so, let's run through my little to-do list, and let's show I'm going to refactor an application. I'm going to help my buddy PJ with a bug, collaborate with him. We're going to review a PR. I'm going to dog food an application to help get some testing going for another team. And then I'm going to run to the booth where I can talk about all this in more detail. Okay, and hopefully as a result of doing these tasks, we can illustrate some of the stuff we're doing. Okay, so the first task I'm going to do, as I mentioned, I'm going to refactor this backend app. So my team, we have this blogging platform that's called Conduit, and it's a full stack app. This is the backend REST API. It's defined with Swagger. And this is just simply the UI that lets us exercise the endpoints. And so my buddy Mark, who is a member of my team, and actually before I move on, I wanted to mention my team is fully distributed. Well, not fully. That sounds better, but partially, right? We all work on diverse things, and we all move fast. And so that's why I want to show this day in the life, because I'm living those trends and those challenges that we talked about, right? So Mark is working on this application, and he asked me to do some refactoring. And it's been a while since I've written C#. And so this kind of goes back to the context switch challenge that we discussed. And how is it that we can work on disparate projects and disparate languages and move quickly without feeling like we're just treading water trying to get productive? And so what I want to show is how we're using AI, as I mentioned, to improve productivity and make it easier for you to comprehend code bases that maybe you haven't worked on in a while, or you're using APIs that you're not as familiar with. So let's illustrate this by means of LINQ. LINQ is amazing, but maybe sometimes with great power comes great complexity, right? And that's not true, but if you haven't worked on it in a while, that, you might say, oh, how do I work with this object again? So here, as I mentioned, this is a blog app, and we're getting a query of article data. And so I see that we have a query, and I'm just going to type query. And I'm not sure what I want to do with it, but we're going to just hit a dot and see what we get, right? And I'm going to zoom in a little bit to illustrate this. I don't want it to gray it out. That defeats the point. And so what you see at the top of the list, this is the standard completion list you've seen before. But there's this set of things that have a star. And what that is that is suggestions that is telling you this is what you're most likely to want to use. And so in this case, it says, oh, where? That makes sense. I'm pretty likely to want to filter this data. I want to only where articles have a title or whatnot. And what this does is it prevents you from having to sift through that list manually and refer to documentation and retain information in your head that the tool can just tell you because it knows, based on, as I mentioned, having trained against thousands of open source repositories and knowing how people are using, in this case, LINQ, right? But it's quite a bit smarter than that, because if we just did this, that wouldn't necessarily be that intelligent. It would be cool, but So what I'm going to do now is wrap that in an if statement, and we'll zoom in. And now what it's telling us is the count is most likely, which if we think about it, that kind of makes sense. If you're going to check doing a condition on a query, you're likely to know, is there anything in there? Or what's the count? Is it more than 0? But as I mentioned, it gets even better. So now let's make an expression that says, well, give me an article of type article and do a query. So what do you think is going to happen when I hit a dot? Anybody want to give me a suggestion? First, okay. Close. First or default. Second one is first, right? Then single, and default. So this is a great example because, dang you, this isn't just telling us what's most relevant. It's telling you what mostly makes sense like ever, right? If you ever are writing a line of code like this, you're very likely to just want the first or the single one. And so what's powerful about this is, as I mentioned, this is automatically making me productive and not having to play the guessing game with the APIs that I'm using. Okay? So let's write this out. And let's do article dot. Now this is a custom type. And we'll say, oh man, where's my stars? So out of the box, IntelliCode, because it's trained across thousands of open source repos, it can understand the .NET framework and many popular open source projects. But it doesn't know anything about my article class. And frankly, if it did, that might be a little bit kind of weird, right? But what if I want to be productive not just on .NET types and open source types, but also on my own code base? And it turns out we can actually do that too. So let's delete this line. Let's go up to the search bar and search for IntelliCode. And so what IntelliCode provides is the ability, and I'm going to just go ahead and click this. Whoa, my mouse is all over the place. Create a new model. And what this is doing is it's going to look at my code base and say, okay, what's the patterns that you're using? What variables are you accessing? What context is it? Is it an if statement? Is it the right side of an assignment? Understanding the context of my code, my types, so in this case article, and then it's going to train a new model that is tailored 100% to the needs of this product, right? And then what that's going to let me do is take the productivity that I would get with standard types and convert that to my own. And so here it just completed. I'm glad that was quick. Generally, I don't do the training on stage, but for this session, we're talking about future stuff, so we're kind of just going off the rails. So here, what's cool is it came back and it said, well, we did some training, and actually we found 3 types, one of which is article. And so if I go back to this code here, what do you think is going to happen now? Let's type a dot. And it now understands that what I'm likely to want is to access the slug. If you're not familiar with blogging platforms, that's a historical term for the ID, right, of the blog. And so that makes a ton of sense. The thing you're most likely to access is the identifier for the article, but maybe also comments and articles and tags. And the same context-rich experience that I just showed with the link query is also the same here, right? And so from here, I can go back to this model and I can share it with my team. That's going to give me a URL. I could send it to anybody in this audience. You then take that, add it, and then now the model that I just trained, we can all benefit, right? And so that starts to combine the productivity and the collaboration narratives that we discussed of how do we improve productivity, become more efficient, comprehend code bases better, but at the same time make sure that the transfer of knowledge is as rich as possible, right? All right, so some of you might be looking at this demo and thinking, that's cool, I guess, but is it really intelligent, right? You said AI, that means a lot. So let's show something else, right? I mentioned that the task I was working on is actually I need to do some refactoring. You can see here that Mark Wilson Thomas was the last person to touch this code, and he left it to do, asking me to do some cleanup on this. Now we can look at this code and it's a bit repetitive. This is doing business logic validation so that when you create an article, we know that the article had a title and it had a description and all that stuff. And this is unnecessary because there's actually a function called not null or empty that we can use and simplify this quite a bit. Okay, that looks good. I guess I have 3 more to go. So let's try that again. Let's say not null or empty, and we'll select that. And we'll delete this. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of these braces. And you'll notice something interesting. As soon as I saved, my editor lit up like a purple Christmas tree, which that might be kind of pretty, actually. But that's a different conversation. And so what happened is IntelliCode just learned from me and my intent on the fly. And it saw those 2 changes I just made, and it said, hey, I know what you're doing. Let me help you out and say that you can do that again. Now, that alone is neat, but let me illustrate something here that is quite cool. So this rule function, it says rule 4. The parameter of that is a link expression, right? It's not a string. We're saying, here's an arbitrary function that's going to return the property that we want you to validate. And then if you look at these 2 examples, you'll notice that not null and not empty, not only are they formatted differently, but they're actually reversed. And so what IntelliCode was able to do is understand the semantics of the code. And so if I click this and say, all right, let's take your suggestion, IntelliCode, take that, and it just accurately applied the change that I wanted to make, which, once again, right, look at this one. This is not empty, not null. This has braces around it. The other one didn't. But it understood the diversity of different patterns, even though the code was the same. And if we come down here and look in the bottom, the document health indicator is saying, actually, you've got 1 more. So let me click on that, navigate. That really took over my screen. And here's yet another one, right? So let me click this and make that change, right? And so the point I want to make there is that that example illustrates a case where how can we make it such that the code you're writing, you can be as productive as possible without having to refer back to documentation and without having to question what's the right API, but also train on your own types, but also get smarter and learn and let the IDE kind of be a virtual pair programmer helping you friendly, right? Let you know when there's an opportunity to make a change that you didn't have to go manually look for, right? Or write a regex for, which I don't even know if you could. Maybe you could, but like, then you'd have to take the day off early because your brain would hurt, right? And so what we're excited about with IntelliCode is this is really just the beginning of capabilities that we're excited about of how do we up-level productivity across a team. Okay, so I'm going to call that done. I'm going to come back to my to-do and say that I'm done with that. So the next thing on my list is I need to refactor, or I need to help PJ with a bug. Now, PJ was supposed to be here in the audience, but I don't see PJ. And so what we're going to do is we're going to call him up, and we're going to see what his problem is, and then we're going to use a product that my team works on to see if we can't help him. All right. So if we can turn the volume up a little bit, please. Hey, PJ.
Hey, JC. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but that's why we have live share, right?
Yeah. So where are you at? Because you were supposed to be in the room. I had this to do to help you with your bug, man.
I'm actually at the booth. We've been getting so much traffic here at the developer services booth that I haven't been able to sneak away. Any chance you can still help me, though?
You know, usually when we do these demos, we do them like with people in the same room because that mitigates risk. But because we're talking about remote development and collaboration and anywhere access, let's just go ahead and do this right now. So PJ, do me a favor. Let's hang up this call, and you send me an invite for a live share session, and we'll walk through helping you with this bug in front of everyone here.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Thanks. OK. So let me switch back to Visual Studio Code. And look at this. PJ Meyer invited you to join a collaboration session. All right, let me say accept. So what just happened, other than a FaceTime call? So live share is a product that we shipped about a year ago, and it GA'd last month. OK, there we go. An audio call has been started for the collaboration session. Let me go ahead and click that, too. And what live share is it's an extension for Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code that provides real-time collaboration tools directly into your editor, right? Hey, PJ, are you there?
I am.
All right. So let me explain what's happening right now, because a lot just kind of happened in a few clicks. So PJ is back at the booth. Should probably be working, but he's not, clearly. He's on his Mac with whatever theme he has and whatever font size and whatever customizations to his IDE. And I'm here with mine, right? He sent me an invite. I clicked that. And what we just did is we connected our two editors together in a way that we can collaborate, but without having to stare at each other's screens and lose the productivity that we both have. Because maybe I have custom key bindings and I have my Windows layouts differently than him, and I don't want to sacrifice that just to help him with his bug, right? So PJ, do me a favor, move your cursor around and highlight some text just to show everybody here that you are actually in the file, right? So there he is, his green cursor, and he's moving around. And so what's cool is as soon as I joined into his session, the file that he had open immediately opened on my end. And that lets me get to the point of which I can help him as quickly as possible. So some other things of interest is you'll notice this red squiggle, right? If I hover over this, it says unexpected var, use letter const instead. Now this is coming from an ESLint extension that he has installed. I don't have it installed. And the reason that that's working is because with live share, we actually pull all of the language services from the machine of the person who's sharing. And beyond just being able to see squiggles, I can also edit and see auto-completion as well. So as soon as I change this to const, like the error was asking, the squiggle immediately went away. Now what's cool about that is it allows me to jump into a real-time collaboration session with PJ or with anyone else without having to worry about if I have the right SDKs or extensions installed on my machine. I can just join knowing I'm going to get all of the context of the project from him, but then all of my personalizations from me. The other thing is this is not a screen sharing session, and that has a benefit for two reasons. One is the bandwidth is a lot better, right? Two, I don't have to be locked to staring at the exact same thing that PJ is at, which is good because I hate that feeling of like being, you know, hey PJ, move your cursor, please, do this, do that, right? What live share enables is a fully independent collaboration experience. So PJ, do me a favor and tell me what the problem is with the app so we can work through it.
Yeah, so I'm working on this blog, and the button to favorite an article doesn't seem to be working. And I know that it's this code here, but I can't tell much more than that.
OK. All right, so I'm going to go check out a different file and illustrate the independence that LiveShare provides. So the first thing is clearly PJ's code is terrible because how could you look at this? But we're going to put that aside for a moment, right? So notice I'm off in user.js. I didn't have to ask PJ to take me there. I just went there. But what I'm not doing is downloading the entire project, right? What's happening is what LiveShare enables is us to share context, not screen. And so the moment that I took the gesture to open user.js, it just made a request to PJ, got the contents of that file, and pulled it for me. Just the bare minimum amount of information I need. But even better, right, more than editing, more than language services, we can also debug, which is important because PJ, what I want to do is see the context of the application on line 62. Now, PJ is not with me. I'm going to go and do what's called a focus to pull PJ's cursor. He immediately jumps to me. Now, why is that interesting, right? Well, just because we're making LiveShare collaboration asynchronous does not mean that there isn't benefits to the synchronous model that screen sharing provides. And so with this ability to say, I'm going to follow you, and we'll work on the same thing. Now I'm going to go do a different thing. Now I'm going to pull you over to my thing. Now we're going to do a different thing even still. Provides quite a bit of flexibility that allows people to actually reimagine what pair programming might look like for them. Because maybe somebody has tried it and thought, I don't like the feeling of PJ hovering over my shoulder. And so we feel like this is actually quite a bit more efficient experience. So PJ, I'm going to go ahead and I set my breakpoint. I'm going to start the debugger because we need to go ahead and take a look at this. And I need to visualize what the application is even doing. I can't help you if I can't, right? Now, let's take a moment and pause for a second. And in fact, I'm going to click this button. This is cool. So when I hit F5, it sent that request to PJ's machine, and it started up the debugging session. I don't have Node installed in this machine. I don't have any of the code that he's running, right? That then ran the application, saw that it spun up a web server, and then forwarded that web application to me securely so that I can see it. And if you look at it, right, it appears as if it's, that wasn't what I wanted to do, on port 3000, right? And so LiveShare provides this secure channel to enable shared resources to be shared across it, editing files, navigating files, editing, debugging, as well as shared servers. All right, so we're both paused at the exact same breakpoint. You see there's PJ's cursor, and this got really big. In fact, oh wait, I'm in zoom mode. Like, what happened to the debug toolbar? So while we're in this state, right, I can expand locals, I can view the call stack, but what's even cooler is I can step. So I'm going to set another breakpoint, hit continue, and I'm powering the debugging session running on PJ's machine. But I'm not looking at his screen, right? We're just sharing the same context. So I see that the issue here is it didn't go into this if statement. The problem is this is supposed to be -1. I'm going to hit save. And you'll notice the debugging session went away. And that's because when I saved, it did a save on PJ's machine as well, which triggered the file system watcher to do the right thing. So now, if I come here and I click on the button, the favoriting article works, right? So PJ, I think we fixed your problem. How does that look on your end?
Looks great to me.
Yeah, okay, cool. So that's what LiveShare can look like, right? This is literally a remote collaboration session. He's over at the expo hall. Hopefully he's doing something productive over there, right? We have an audio call, editing, debugging, shared servers, everything all going through the same session. So we're pretty excited about how people are using that for quite a diverse set of use cases. Let's hold questions for the end if possible. Okay. So the next item on my to-do list was another member of my team named Arjun, who he asked me if I could review one of his PRs, right? So we're having a pretty good day. I just did some refactoring with IntelliCode. I just did a LiveShare real-time collaboration session. But my team, nobody works in real time completely, right? We have to work asynchronously. Our time zones, our schedules are different. And so that's where pull requests come in, right? And so here, my team, we use GitHub for everything. And my buddy Arjun created a PR that he wants me to take a look at. Argent has a bit of a reputation. So if we look at the description here, it says, hey, this is a simple change. It should be bug-free. Quickly scan it and just push this thing straight into production. And I like the passion, right? We talked about we got to move fast, right? And I guess if you ask Facebook, you should break things too. But I'd rather not do that, right? And so the question is how can we move fast without sacrificing the full fidelity of knowing that when we review a pull request that we actually understand how it works, without having to pay the cost of checking out or cloning every single branch and setting up our machine to do it. So let's take a look at an experience that we're working on. So I'm going to just click on a file here that was changed in the pull request called gridlegend.js. And you'll notice a couple of cool things. Maybe you're not already familiar with them. One is that within Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, we have this rich in-tool PR review experience. I can see the diffs that were made in the PR. I can see comments. So here we can see Arjun is saying, hey, just double check this signature doesn't break anything. I can see the diffs. But what's interesting is what I can also do is start to answer questions about this remote code that I don't have on my machine that are actually critical to being able to be confident knowing that I fully understand that this change wouldn't break something, right? So for example, I notice in the lower left that I see an error in VS Code that says bonus cells is declared, but its value is never used. So if I then come up here, I can see that this change introduces an argument to this component called bonus cells, set it to bonus, but yes, in fact, nothing uses it. So that's kind of bizarre. And that might lead us to the question of, well, what uses grid legend, and does anything that consumes that method expect to be able to set a bonus cells? Now, if you're reviewing a PR traditionally today, what you might have to do is do a search on the code base and hope to God that you don't find 50 things that match that, right? Or you clone the code base locally, but that's really hard to do for every PR, especially if, as we said, we're trying to move fast here, right? And so what if we could just right-click this function and say, I want to know what the references are to this, like, even if I don't have any of this code on my machine. And so what I do is I do that peek references. I can then see that, in fact, there's only one place in the entire code base that uses grid legend, and it does not pass that bonus cells parameter, right? And so with just a simple gesture that worked as if I had the code locally, as how I would do it if I was developing in my everyday environment, I'm able to answer that question of, is this code actually doing the right thing? And if you look up in the code peek, you'll see that the URL for this file is richcodenavigation/source/components. And that's because, as I mentioned, this code is not local. I'm just reviewing a PR right in my tools, and I'm navigating around it entirely in the cloud and sacrificing nothing in the process. OK, so I know that this change is bogus, and I don't know what Arjun was thinking when he pushed it. But that's OK. So let's move on to another file. And here we can see the changes once again. We can see that, OK, I'm not sure what the shift method is, but I can hover over it and see, oh, it removes the first element of the array, returns it. That makes sense. I can see that he's introducing a third-party dependency on a library called observable. But as I mentioned earlier, the trend is moving more towards distributed applications, more uses of open source code and libraries. And so another challenge that happens when you're reviewing pull requests while trying to move fast and actually understand the change is understanding dependencies that your code is using and being confident that you know what they do, right? And so what's really cool is with this code navigation cloud-based language service experience, it also works multi-repo. And so if I right-click this observable method, which we just determined is coming from a third-party npm module, I'm going to just say, well, let's peek the definition of that. And here, if you look at the title bar, we see observable.ts. And the reason that that's interesting is that if this was a local file, it would be a JavaScript file because nobody distributes TypeScript code over npm. So what we're looking at is we just did a navigation from the PR on this repository into the GitHub repository for this third-party library. And so what this enables is that if your application makes use of a ton of open source code, or if you're building a microservice application that has your code fragmented in different repositories, and you send out PRs, you review PRs, you can be confident that people can comprehend and efficiently review them without having to pull every single PR down to their local machine to get it, right? And so this, in combination with LiveShare, is what I was talking about when I mentioned end-to-end collaboration. How can we make it such that if the feedback that your team needs either requires real-time attention or asynchronous feedback, that you have the most efficient tools to do it very, very frequently, right? Because when we've talked to many developers, one of the biggest pain points we hear is how long it takes for people to review their pull requests, right? How painful is that when you did all this work, you wrote a very nice description of why you did it, and then it just sits there for 5 days, right? Well, now people have no excuse. Just go navigate around and make sure you understand. And the other benefit is that we want to make sure that people are truly learning with and as a team, right? And so maybe I'm not a lead or I'm not responsible for this feature area and I don't need to sign off on it, but I want to learn what's happening here because I want to better myself as a developer. And so now with this experience, it's easier and more accessible to be able to keep up with the velocity of the team as they're submitting pull requests, right? Okay, so that's that. I'm going to go ahead and probably reject this PR, but there's one thing I want to do. I want to understand a little bit more about this code because maybe the code is questionable, but maybe it's functional, right? And so another thing that when we talk about reviewing a pull request is we might believe or want to, as developers, think that we can visualize the runtime environment of code in our head and say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, the shift change. I get it. That makes this button 20 pixels to the right. Cool, sign off, right? But that's really hard to do. And so what's important to confidently review PRs is to actually run and browse an application and see functionally that it behaves the way it should so that when you push the approve button, you're confident with that. And so let's take a look at an experience that allows that kind of thing to be possible. So I'm going to switch to this tab that is going to list out a handful of what we call here environments. These are developer environments running in the cloud, just sitting there waiting for me to connect to them and immediately become productive for that task at hand without having to set up anything on my machine, right? But what we want to do is we want to create a new one to solve the problem that we just talked about. Because I reviewed this PR by means of navigations, but what I want to do now is I want to be able to run it, but I don't want to figure out what I have to install on my laptop in order to do that. So let's create a new environment, and let's start from a GitHub repository, and we're going to review the guestbook application, and we'll, let's see. Let me reload this window. I think I had some funky state there. So let's reload. Let's wait for that to come back. And once again, I just want to make the point here. If we look at my terminal, I do not have Node installed, right? So the application that we're viewing is a Node-based application. I don't have the tools. I don't have the dependencies. But what I do have is a need, a real need. A question I want to solve is, does this PR behave and function the way I would expect? And so what we want to do is leverage the ability to remotely develop against an ad hoc provisioned environment that can solve this for us without having to do any setup. So I'm going to say start from a GitHub repository. There's the same repo we just mentioned. And let's go ahead and create that, right? And so here, what it's doing is it's going and taking a look at that GitHub repo that I specified, inferring from the code base the requirements that that application has in order to run, right? So it's going to look at it and see that it's a Node.js application, what version of Node.js does it use, and build for me a dynamic environment that I can then connect to and begin to work without having to set anything up, right? So here we go. It just completed. Took about 20 seconds. So now I'm going to say connect. And this is what's really cool, because before, when I did the live share session, what you saw was a collaboration session that made Visual Studio Code smarter and collaborative, but without changing the experience that I have if I'm developing normally, right? And so what I want is, if I'm trying to do something that is a remote experience, so here I just provision a new machine to say, let's review this PR, I also want the experience of working with that to be the same as if I was working local. And so here, you can see that it cloned the repo. I'm going to pop open a terminal. I'm going to do a uname to prove that we're now in the context of a Linux environment, even though I'm on my Mac here, as you can see, right? And so what we've just done is we've put Visual Studio Code into this remote-powered context, to where everything that I do is in the context of the machine that we just provisioned, that is automatically set up for me to achieve this task I have. So I'm going to run npm install, and that's going to work because, as I mentioned, even though I don't have Node.js installed on my machine, that when I provisioned that new environment and I gave it a code base, it was smart enough to know that that needed Node.js and that that needed npm. And so now I'm going to go navigate files. If I click on guestbook grid, this is the exact same file I was just reviewing in the PR a moment ago, right? That's because I specified this was the repo I wanted it to clone for me. And so it's getting me into a state where, right, I had a series of tasks that I wanted to review this PR, and I'm incrementally enabling myself to achieve and answer more questions, right? So even cooler, let's wait a second for this npm install to finish. Should be almost done. If anybody does know development, you know that there's probably about 700 million dependencies that I just had to pull down. Well, let's be fair, 600 million, right? So even further, I'm going to say npm start. I'm going to run the application, because that's the thing. I want to see it actually functioning. I want to know if Arjun actually fixed this bug, because the guestbook wasn't working. So it's going to start up the development server. Once again, that works because on the remote machine, it inferred that I needed Node. It's smart enough to even detect issues with this code base. So it's saying, hey, you have a class that's never used. OK, I can edit this code too, even though it's remote. The moment I save, the save happens remotely, triggers the file system watcher, comes back. Now here's where things get interesting. So you'll notice that when I ran the application, it says, oh, it's running on localhost 3000. Let me click that. That's not going to work, because localhost 3000, well, I just provisioned an environment in the cloud, and it cloned my repo. And so what I can do is come back here, and you'll notice that now that I'm connected to this environment, it specifies the details. I can say, let's clone port 3000, or not clone, sorry, let's forward port 3000, so that I have access to that same web application running, but locally. That way I can achieve all of the same tools and experiences I need. So let's come back here, let's refresh, and here's the app, right? That is the guestbook app, running on a remote machine that I provisioned with a couple of clicks. I didn't have to install anything. And if you've ever tried, installing Node and npm is not necessarily the easiest task in the world. And so these kind of things can add up. Now, let's go back and take this a step further. So in Arjun's PR, one of the changes that he made was he changed the unshift method here in signature matrix to shift. So I'm going to make that same change. I'm going to save. I'm going to come back. And I can see that it does, in fact, fix the problem, right? So what's really cool about this is that it demonstrates how I was able to achieve things that we need to do repeatedly on a daily basis, but with very little minutia as part of it, right? That we can say, I need to solve a task, give me an environment to do that thing, make sure it does the right thing, and give me the exact same full fidelity experience that I would expect. I want a terminal, I want an editor, I need to view web applications, I need to save files, etc., right? And so VS Code is now a fully remote-powered editor. And the experience that I'm showing here is only one of the many amazing experiences that are available for you today. So we have a private preview of this experience, but last week there was also released remote capable experiences for WSL development, SSH, Docker containers. And so there's this amazing, amazing convergence of you need to become more productive, develop in remote environments, and use the exact same tools that you're familiar with without sacrificing anything. It's super exciting. Okay, so let's switch back to the Windows machine. And what I want to show is a very early look at something that we're excited about, which is the VS equivalent of what I just showed. And so this need for remote development is not distinct to Visual Studio Code users, right? The challenges that I outlined of being able to create environments that I don't have to do setup manually, being able to work in different OSs, being able to leverage more powerful hardware, those are universal challenges. And so what we're doing is we're also working on a Visual Studio remote capability that allows you, much like I just demonstrated with Visual Studio Code, to take the IDE and attach it or connect it to remote hosts. And so here, if we look in our little Cloud Environments tool window, you'll notice a couple of things. One, that VSLS guestbook, that's the environment that I just created in VS Code. And because I'm signed in with the same identity, it roamed between the two tools, right? Which is pretty cool. Now, we also see one here called ASCII-Cam. And so what I'm going to just do is right-click and say connect, right? Because one of the other to-dos I had on my list was I needed to dog food this application that Scott Hanselman was building. Maybe you saw it in the keynote. I want to help him make sure that this thing functions the way that we would expect. And so you'll notice, and let me close this out, as soon as I click that connect button, I'm now remotely attached to an environment, a remote environment that already has this code base, already has all of the SDKs installed, already has all of the extensions needed for me to begin developing against it. So if I click open of start up CS, for example, and I scroll down here, I can do things like peak definition, right? That works. I can begin to edit the code, services, dot, etc. There I see my completion. I can even debug. So I'm going to set a breakpoint. But what you didn't see, right, is I didn't just file new. I didn't clone any repos. I just connected to something that I previously created, right? And so I showed in VS Code how can you go and create new environments on an as-needed basis. But what this is demonstrating is how can I have a collection of environments that are purpose-built for different projects, different tasks, and then switch between them seamlessly. That makes it easy to work in different settings and not lose efficiency. So I'm going to set this breakpoint. I'm going to start debugging. And of course, it doesn't exist. So let's build. Let's change that and let's do a quick build, right? And this is, once again, going to be a remote build. And actually, I don't have .NET Core installed on this machine either. But as we saw with Node in the previous one, it does not matter. Because with these remote developer environments, all that you need is the client tools and then something that you can connect it to. And then you can go from 0 to productive with just a couple of clicks. So let's give this a second to build. I guess we can't just completely make fun of Node. .NET also has its own, decent build system. Okay, so that completed. So let's change back to the .NET Core launch, and let's run this. And so as soon as we hit run, I'm going to minimize this. Just like we saw in VS Code, we're now in Visual Studio running a .NET Core SignalR application in a remote cloud-based environment and setting a breakpoint and pausing execution even though I don't have any of that on my machine. And from here, I can inspect state, I can continue. Everything works and functions as you would expect. So this, let me refresh this. Now, just like we saw the port forwarding in VS Code, when we F5'd, Visual Studio was smart enough to know this is an ASP.NET project. I know the port it's running on. So it automatically forwarded that port here. So all of this code is running local, but let's test it out, and like I said, let's help dog food this. So, see, I don't even know how this application works, but it doesn't matter, right? Because with the power of remote development, imagine that not just creating environments for yourself, but also provisioning environments for your team. And all of a sudden, the work to onboard a new employee dramatically changes. Or the work to be a lead on a team and take on new members from a different or adjacent feature crew dramatically changes. Because you can be much more confident knowing that they're not going to spend the next 2 days setting up their environment just to be able to look at themselves in ASCII. Which is, it's quite satisfying, to be honest with you. Okay. And then when you're done, I just stop the debugger. Let's pull that tool window back up, and let's just disconnect. And we're done. Nothing's left on my machine. And so what's kind of neat about that is the live share session, you might think, actually looked quite similar to the remote development scenarios, and that's by design. Because what we want to enable is for people to literally use their tools the way they would if you were working by yourself on your laptop or desktop, but benefit from being able to make those tools fully collaborative and remotely powered. That way you're no longer limited by your local machine, and you're no longer siloed or restricted to using tools like screen sharing to work frequently with people. Okay, so quick recap. What did all the stuff that we just saw, right, when we talk about the future of productivity? What are some things? So we demonstrated IntelliCode and how it is helping to instill the understanding and the context of the community into your developer tools, such that as you write code, you can be, in many ways, smarter. Because as somebody in an open source project gains context, so do you. And as you onboard new employees, so do they. We showed live share and how it's fully collaborative and real time. And I hope that it also demonstrated pretty efficient, right? Because PJ was over at the booth. We were editing files. We had an audio call going in VS Code. We didn't have any latency problems there, right? And it allowed us to retain our own individual personalized environment, unlike what alternatives might provide. We saw the ability to do a deep code review by being able to look at a PR and not just scan it and give it a looks good to me, but actually understand by means of IDE navigations how that code impacts the broader code base. We then migrated from that PR into a fully managed provision cloud environment that then let us run and view the application such that without any setup, we were confident in knowing that the change was good. Maybe the code was not, but the change functionally worked. And then finally, oh, I actually totally forgot one thing. I was so in the moment. Finally, what we showed was that Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code are now becoming fully remote powered tools, right? That no longer is it sufficient for us to just work on our laptops, set up environments between them, maintain SDKs and dependencies, and then just, kill productivity because of the fact that you're no longer able to just work from anywhere, take on tasks, and focus on what you're trying to do in code, not set up. So the last thing on here I actually didn't show, and that was a mistake. So the one thing that is very early, very, very, very early, but this session is called Futures after all, right? I hope you don't pay to come to an event just to see what's already been shipped. And so when we talked about the fact that within the trends of developers, this need for remote development and workplace flexibility is becoming more and more of a thing, how many of us, I'm actually curious, work remotely, like from a home office? A bunch of people, right? How many of us travel frequently? How many of us find browser-based experiences quite convenient, maybe editing Word documents, reviewing PRs? Okay, you're a holdout. And so what we've found, right, is that in this world, this proliferation of devices where we have tablets, we have low-powered laptops, we're working across multiple machines, we're more people are working remotely than ever before. There's this big need for reducing the accessibility for certain tasks to only environments or devices that you have Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code on, right? So what we're working on is a companion experience to Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. Let's see what happened to Edge. Oh, actually, I want the other machine. I'm sorry. That is called Visual Studio Online. And so when we saw in the previous demo that I was connected to a remote cloud-based environment for the Streamer ASCII Cam app, right? We saw that it showed up in VS, and I attached VS to that. But maybe I'm attending build, or I'm on the road traveling, and I want to make a quick edit on that code base, and I'm on a device, maybe an iPad Pro or a Pixelbook, and I don't have Visual Studio installed, and it would just be easier for me to jump into the browser to do it. So what we have with Visual Studio Code, or I'm sorry, with Visual Studio Online, is you'll notice online.visualstudio.com/environment/streamr, the ability to, from any device and anywhere with an internet connection, jump into those remote development environments and immediately pick up where we left off. So if I expand this, streamr app, www.root, site.js, here's the code, pages shared, that we were just looking at in Visual Studio, but now here in the comfort of the browser. So you can imagine that this helps unblock and improve efficiency for a couple of core scenarios, right? Like, how do I do rich pull requests in an environment that feels like my developer tool, but as convenient as being in a browser? How can I do a live share session from the browser if I'm on a device that doesn't have the tools installed? How can I make a quick edit on the go, right? And so what we don't see this as is a replacement of Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. It is a complement, right? Much like we probably all use both Office desktop as well as the web experience, because having the right tool for the right job, all that does is empower you to have options to make sure that whatever you need to accomplish, you have the most efficient and accessible path to do it. Okay. So across Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, and now Visual Studio Online, remote development and anywhere accessibility and workplace flexibility become something that is just at your fingertips, right? You don't have to change or adopt a new tool in order to get that. Okay, so where do we go from here, right? So a lot of this is still quite early. And so what we would love is that if any of the things you saw in this session are of interest to you, please go to ak.ms/vsfutures to learn more, but also sign up for the private preview that we announced yesterday to get access to early bits for those cloud-based developer environments, for Visual Studio Remote, for Visual Studio Online. In addition to the things that are in private preview, some of the things I showed today are already in market, and I would encourage and love if everybody took the chance to go try them out. So Visual Studio Code Remote, SSH support, WSL, Docker containers. If your team is adopting those technologies, go use those today. It's an amazing product. LiveShare, GA'd last month. IntelliCode, GA'd yesterday, right? And so across these products, some things are accessible today, some things are coming soon. If you go to the top link, you'll find information on them all. And then finally, I would love to hear feedback and talk with you all more further. So that's my email, that's my Twitter account. As I mentioned, my team works across a spectrum of experiences, and we're very, very, very keen on learning how we can further improve the productivity and efficiency and enjoyability of developers moving forward today. So with that, thank you very much for coming to this session.